Woo! All right, good. So obviously, all things Astro. Who am I? Well, I'm Elian. I, of course, work on the Astro core. I work mainly in the DX team and UI teams of Astro. I organize React conferences in Brussels, BGS, and Paris, and soon want to come in Africa. So that's really exciting. I also organize meetups in my hometown in Ghent in Belgium. So if anyone from Belgium here? Probably not, right? Yeah. Sad. Well, of course you're not here for me, you're here for Astro. So let's dive into Astro. So who had used Astro? Show hands, show hands. Okay, cool. Most of them are my friends, cool. No, that's totally fine, because I'm here to tell you more about it. So we like to see ourselves as the framework for content-driven websites or web applications. Content-driven doesn't necessarily mean only your blog. It's way, way more. But we'll get into that further. Think of it as being a meta framework like Next or Next. So the syntax is super familiar. If you ever use React or any JSX-like framework, this is probably very familiar to you, except that in the front matter there, like the code fences at the top, that's where you use your plain JavaScript or TypeScript. You can choose whatever you want, and then below that, you can use all those components you imported or those variables, basically a JSX-like framework. Now, this exactly is the code of my homepage of my own website. So you see how super simple it is, and then, of course, you have the beautiful design. Oh, isn't that pretty? Well, a lot of people disagree, but you might not like it. This is what peak app design looks like. Cool. This you understand. So what makes us different than Next or Next? Well, we ship with 0 kilobytes of JavaScript in production by default. I'll explain that a bit further. So think of your app in a meta framework, Next, Next, whatever. It looks like this. We require a lot of JavaScript to render all of those components. For instance, like the header there, the text body, the image slider, that might make sense to render with JavaScript. But why are we rendering that footer here with JavaScript? It's just static links. That doesn't make sense. So by default, Astro will just compile it all down to native HTML and CSS and ship that to your production. Super fast for your users. So of course, Lighthouse 800 out of the box. So that's why we call it ideal for content-driven, because content, in a sense, is always static. Now, I hear you thinking, but I want like some interactive experience, of course. What if I need interactivity? What if I need buttons to work? Well, we have client directives for those. This is how they work. It's very simple. So you use client load on a component, it will ship JavaScript for that component only to your production whenever it's happened to be there. Client idle is exactly the same, but only when the main browser thread is idle. Makes sense. Client media, for instance, for buttons, mobile menu, think of that. Whenever you see a button on mobile, only hydrate it when it's actually on a mobile device. Otherwise, it has no use. Client only is just basically skipping out of our compiler. You know what you're doing, and you don't trust us with your code. Totally fine. So we have this static application, but with some minor tweaks, we can have it like this in Astro, where we only require JavaScript in the components that actually need it. Now, of course, Astro is also open source. So you can totally build and extend your own client directives. For instance, Ben, one of my colleagues at Astro, built client when it's rainy in New York. So can you guess what this does? It only hydrates your component in production whenever it's raining in New York. So that's pretty cool. I didn't build this because in Brussels it's just always raining, so that would be useless. Cool, we call this architecture the island architecture. And it comes with a massive, massive advantage, and that is you can bring your own framework to it. So imagine you have a Svelte component and you want to use it in Astro, you totally can. You have a Vue component. You can totally use it, or you bring something else, you can totally do that. That's fine. We don't judge you for it. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it. Like this is good for migrations, for example. Super handy. But still, if you don't use that client directive, it will still compile down to native HTML. So in that case, Astro is one of the fastest frameworks out there. I know that over the last year, I don't know who has followed it, but we have done a couple of releases, quite big ones. So yeah, a lot of people were laughing with us because we release so often. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, we just cheap code. So we launched Astro 2 quite a while ago, and the major feature there was content collections. Content collections offer this amazing API and very native feel of working with your markdown content. You can basically have it completely be type safe. We'll give you rendering errors whenever you miss something in the front matter. It's very, very easy, and of course, fully type safe. We use Zod for that, which I think they just showed it earlier as well. So it's really, really handy. One of the things that also excited me very much is hybrid rendering. Hybrid rendering is when you have, for instance, a full static application, but you need one API endpoint. Yeah, that doesn't mean that you want your whole website to be server rendered. You just want one API endpoint. You can totally do that with hybrid rendering. Or the other way around, maybe you want just one static path and everything else to be server-side rendered. You can totally do that. That's fine. We don't judge you. Astro 3, the major feature there, view transitions. Astro was the first framework to stably ship view transitions, and it's such an amazing experience. For instance, this application, you can see it switching pages, and it's actually an MPA app. It's amazing to see, like this almost feels like an SPA, but still is an MPA, which is amazing. And the best thing about all of it, it's only 2 lines of code, which is pretty incredible to me. Now, the cool thing is, in the next Chrome version, I think it's 126, view transitions are changing a bit since they are adding MPA support natively to the browser, and it will look a little bit differently. It will look like this, and you do it actually in CSS instead of in JavaScript, which is really exciting to me. Now, of course, image optimizing, we heard it from Marta earlier. If you want good CLS, for instance, yeah, you need some images to be optimized. Good thing is that we do it out of the box for you. So you provide us the PNG, you put it in the Astro Assets image component, it will automatically compile it to a WebP image optimized for the web. Not only that, but it also works with picture. And what is amazing about picture is that you can actually have different outputs formats. For instance, you want one in AVIF and one in WebP, depending on which one the browser supports, you select the best one. Super cool stuff. Page partials. Really cool. It's basically, you can totally get rid of the HTML tag, the body tag, the head tag. So what you can do is actually just use it with HTMX and hot swap your HTML. Really cool stuff. Starlight. Anyone heard or used Starlight? Yeah, it's less known, but it's really good. It's really cool. Starlight is this documentation generator built on Astro, and it's super fast. You can use, basically think of it like a Docusaurus, but then for a better framework. And of course, you get to use all the goodies that Astro provides. So island architecture, React components, whatever you want. And actually, tomorrow is its very first birthday. So yeah, congrats, Starlight. Cool. Getting to the end of the quick thing, because I need to do a demo afterwards. Astro 4, the dev toolbar. Super cool stuff that we have done with this. So inside of your browser, you just have a dev toolbar. You can click on it. This is the inspect tool, and you can instantly see where your client components are, what the props are, what location it is, what framework it is. It's super useful, and all without leaving the browser. Really useful. But also we have an audit tool. So again, we heard about good DX and like good engineering, accessibility. Well, we provide those for you. You can see, oh, I'm missing an area attribute here. Let's add it. Or maybe, oh, this image isn't optimized. Maybe let's do that. Or lazy loading. Oh, you're forgetting it? Let's do that. But also, open source first, you can totally build your own one to extend the dev toolbar. So you can build it. All right, and then we have a couple of experimental features. And we have content collection caching, which is totally new. We're still experimenting with it. But we have a docs code base in Starlight of around 4,000 pages, which is really a lot. So if you build that in CI, it takes quite some time. But with content collection caching, we actually only rebuild the pages that actually have changed. Everything else just stays in the cache. And with that, we were able to have like an 80% gain on all of our build pipelines, which is really, really crazy. Of course, we also redesigned our own documentation to be like this, which uses Starlight, which is really good because now Starlight gets to benefit from the features that Astro needs and vice versa, which is really useful. Of course, that's not everything. We have way more than I have time to cover. But what's next is one of the questions I get most. And my answer is always, hey, we have an open roadmap, so you can decide. You can basically add a discussion, you can open an issue, you can open a PR to actually start and help contribute in Astro. And we really appreciate those. So don't be scared if you have an idea for Astro. We totally want you to. Cool. Has anyone heard of a new project called AstroDB? Whoa. Oh, not that many. OK, that's good. I'm going to show you some magic. So AstroDB. AstroDB is the native database layer platform for content-driven websites, aka for Astro. And you can totally build authentication into your website, or you want some comments to your blog. You can totally build those natively with the first-party API inside of Astro. Best of it is it's super generous. We have a free tier that is actually very, very generous. So that's really cool. Next to that, just the database, it also has some apps. For instance, here you can see those. For now, it's still in beta, so it's still very simple. We have the SQL console, which is basically just an SQL console where you can just give in your command, see the output. It's useful, but nothing too special. One that I want to talk about is web vitals. You can totally monitor real-time your web vitals from AstroDB. For that, we actually use exactly the same API that Marta showed earlier. So it's really handy. It just puts all of it in your database. It reads them out like this, but you can also do or build your own dashboard if you want. Cool. Ready for some demos? Yeah. No? OK. Let me quickly. Why am I seeing this? Yes, perfect. Got to share my screen here. Give me a minute. Main display. Nope, that's totally the wrong one. Yes, yes, that's it. All right, is this big enough for y'all to read? Big enough? Good, okay, thank you. So what I've built is very simple. It's basically this page. Hello, JNation. It's some kind of a guest book. So it just says what people are saying and then a comment. For that, we're going to use a form that says, post your own comment, and then you have just a very simple form that has a name, a title, a comment, and a post button. So I'm going to show you how you can actually build that with AstroDB and some other cool stuff. First of all, in our DB, we want to actually represent the comment model. So let's do that. So let me make a comment. Comment equals define a table. That makes sense. And we want some columns in that. And what did we see? We saw a title. That's probably a string. So let me add column. There it is. Dot text. Then we want a body. Sounds good. Created that. That's actually a really useful one. Let's do that. But also we need a name. Column dot text. All right. But also in this created ad, we probably want that to be automatically filled with a default. So let's do default, and not now, but now that we import from AstroDB, which will be the local server time of the server. That makes sense. So let's import that in our actual tables. So we now have a comment in our database. Cool. Let me start the dev server here so that we can actually use something. OK, cool. Next up, we have seeding. Anyone is probably familiar with seeding, so let's do that. So await database. Insert into the comment section with some values that we make. Title, let's do hello. Let's do JNation. JNation. Name, of course, I am Elian, so let's do that. And then the body, this is a comment. Good enough for me. So let's import that quickly as well. It's not there, so let me do it here. You import it actually from AstroDB, not from the collection. So now we still have this being static. So what if we actually want to use our data? Because this technically is inside of our database. So let me get that out. So in our index, which is just basically the index page that we saw earlier, we have this. So we probably want to add our comments there and map that. So let's do that. Oops. So const, let's get the comments. So let's await, because you can use top-level await. Select all from comment. That's it. But maybe we want to order them. That would make sense, right? So order by, let's do descending on the comment, oops, dot created ad. That makes sense. That's super easy, right? Thank you, Drizzle. So what we now just want to do is very simple. We just want to do comments, dot map, comment, and then we just want to copy paste this in. Oops, thank you. Let's get rid of that. And actually, that should be typed. Did I do something wrong? That should work. Comment dot, let's do title here. What was it? Name, created ad, that seems good. Likes, let's integrate likes as well later. Let's do it like this, 0 likes. Cool. Now, if we restart the dev server, because we have to do that, sadly enough, and now it should say, it doesn't say it. Did I do something wrong? I don't think so. Well, it should work. Damn it. Oh, there it is. OK. I did something wrong. No, that's not worth applauding for. But yes, this works. But now, of course, we want to actually post a comment. So that would make sense. So for that, I've built this post page. And the post page is actually really easy. So let me go to the post. No. Yes, post.astro. So we have a form here. But that form, probably you want to use an API point. Well, not really, because you don't want people outside of this form to post comments. You don't want to expose that API. So we're going to use something called Astro Actions. It's still highly experimental, so very much might fail. Let's just hope it doesn't. In this case, I'm going to use solid because I love solid. So let me do form.tsx. And it's really easy because I'm just going to do export default function form, and then open the function and return exactly the HTML that we had before. Oops. Copy that over, plug it in here, save it, and now we can do form, and let's client idle that. That makes sense. And now import form from components / form, not .astro, but just form. And let's see if that works. Cannot find form. It should. Why don't you work? What? From? That's right. Left, left, right, left. I can't hear you. Be louder. I see it. Yeah, I see it. I see it. Thank you so much for helping. Yeah. But now actually, you applauded already too early, because this is actually the solid component that's displaying there, and I didn't have anything to do with that. So that's really cool. What we now want to do is, have any one of you worked with forms? Probably you have. So if you submit a form, it actually always does an action that is a get page. And we don't want to do that. We actually want to do something different. So what we're going to do is make a function here that's a onSubmit. And then let's make that an async function. And whoop. Is that everything? Nope, I'm missing one. Perfect. And then ae.prevent default. No copilot, that's not what I'm about to do. Prevent default. So now we can actually input the data, and it will stop it from doing a get. Cool. Now let's go to the actions. So what are actions? I'm going to explain to you. It's very easy. So what we want an input. And that input is just a Zod validator object. So let me import Zod from the actions. So let's take an object in. And in that object, we already know that we have a title, a body, and a name. So that's easy enough. Now, what we also want to do is we are submitting a form. So let's do accept the form. Oops. Yeah, again. OK, cool. So now we have that. Now we actually want to do something with that data. So let's import that. So title, we have a body, and we have a name. Cool. Now we just want to very simply do await database.insert in comment, indeed, and then the values are basically the object itself, so title, body, and name, but I think it's comment. That's the body. And then import the database from this one. Cool. Did we not action comment? Comment. Cool. Did I do something wrong again? Yes, it's probably body equals body. Let me quickly check the form, how I called it. Thank you, Tejas, for your very helpful comments. OK, that looks good to me. Body, config. Yep, OK, looking good. So now in the form, let's do await actions dot, and then we know comment. Really easy. Now we have something to insert there. We know that was the form data, so let's get the form data. So const form data equals new form data from e.target. That will error in TypeScript, but of course we have as, and that's HTML form element. That should be everything, and then let's get the form data in there. Cool. And then maybe we want to navigate again to, I'm going to quickly do it like this location because I have 5 minutes left. .href equals /. Cool. Simply enough, right? So let's test it. John hello world test. Will it work? Nope. That was very good. Cool, we have a bad request, invalid type, expected the string path body. So we know that something is wrong with the body. I already thought so that I did something wrong. Okay, so in the thing we have comment, that's it. So we need to go back to our thing, and we're expecting comment here. That's why I made a mistake in the beginning. So body is actually comment. Easy enough to debug. So John, hello world test. And now it actually works with an action. Now, thank you. Now let's do something even crazier. What if you want likes? Like your whole website is static, but you want some blog posts to be liked. You don't want to expose an endpoint, you don't want to server render everything. So what we're going to do is just make one button that has likes. And for that, I'm going to alter actually the whole thing. So likes, I want likes now. And that's a number by default 0. That makes sense. In the post itself, in the index page, if I can find that, we have 0 likes here. So let's make that, see how type safe this is. This is really awesome. So comment dot, and now we have not likes, likes. Yep, restarted the server, sorry. Likes. And now we see, again, 0 likes. You see that the other one is gone, since that wasn't seeded, but this one was. Now, of course, we want this to make a button. So we're going to make a form component, like, I'm going to rush against the clock here. Let me check if I can do it. So do it again, export default function, like, perfect. Then we're going to return a, let's do a button, and then call it like. With the actual likes, let me create a state for that, it might be better. So const like, set likes, use state. Nope, we're going to create a signal here, because we love signals, don't we, Attila? Yes, perfect. So let's show the likes here. This is likes, like this. Okay, amazing. So create signal, let's take an initial state here. Initial state, and let's take an ID. Perfect. So let's do here the initial state. Let's do it like this as well, so that we have initial state equals a number. And we have the ID. Let's also make that a number. But if we actually want to get the ID, yes, type button, cool, good enough. Now set likes, that's not important yet. Create signal, yep, that's all sounds good. So what we now want to do is actually replace this to be that like component, like, and then client idle it. And of course, we know that we have to pass some structures here. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to pass the initial state, which is the comment.likes, and the ID, which is the comment.id. And we actually don't have that yet, so let's add the ID to a config. So let's add an ID, let's make that a number, and let's make that the primary key. That makes sense. True. Perfect. All right, so that should work. Now we want to update that, of course. Let's also import the like component, that makes sense. Import like from components like, that's it. Perfect. Now, the action. How are we going to process the action? So we have it here. Let's take an input, which is a z.object, makes sense enough. And in that input action, we want the ID, which is the number. So we have the ID here. So what we want to do is await the database and select from the comment where, let's import equals, comment, I'm going to have to import it. Oh, it's already there, fine. Select, from comment, where equals comment.id is the actual ID. And let's get that one. Cool. So we have to const get comment, I'm going to call it. Cool. Now we want to update that comment to be updated. So const updated comment equals await database dot update comment set. 25 seconds left. That's going to be very, very hard to do. Likes equals likes, get comment. get comment dot likes plus 1. Yep, I hear the alarm, give me 1 second. It can be undefined, yeah, whatever, it won't be. Okay, we have that. Now, very quickly, let's just add the action in. Let's add the action very quick. So let's do onClick equals, and then just await, whoops, async, await, actions dot like, and then we just pass in the ID. And that's basically it. Now, I'm not going to do the pass since I'm over time, but what it will do, it will update the state, then you do the update state, and you're done. And it will actually be in the database. So yeah, it's a cool thing. Said I can't show you the pass, but actually here, you see that the action thing isn't returning anything. Cool, very fast, whoop, whoop, whoop. Want to stay updated? These are some links, astro.build, Astro the chat. That's our Discord server where you can find all updates. We chat there. You're all very welcome to join there. Thank you so much.